Hello, guys. My name is Joy Keys. I'm one of the group members that'll be talking about the challenge of the workforce. So let's go ahead and dive into slide one. It's about social cognitive theory. All right, so cognitive theory is the career choices that are based on self efficacy expectations and outcome expectations. And most of us make our own choices from relatively narrow group of occupations based on our experiences and personalities. Social cognitive psychologists have identified a number of factors to help explain how adolescents and young adults choose a particular career. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the factors of social cognitive theory. So, competencies, what am I good at and what am I capable of learning? So, when starting a new job, we're always wondering, what are we good at and what are we capable of learning? What are we willing to try to learn? What are we willing to do? So, I think that's very important when talking about the factors of the cognitive career theory. In coding strategies, that's just saying how different people encode or view the same situations in different ways. Encoding strategies here include whether the person sees a vocation or career appropriate for her and him based on the educational and training requirements, the rewards, and the fits with his or her personality. So, expectancies, beliefs about what the person expects will happen in a given career. Expectancies also include expectations about the self or self efficacy expectations. Okay, so moving on to motives for working. So everyone knows the motives for working right now is just to earn a living. Honestly, with the cost of living going up, everyone is just trying to provide to pay their bills. As a college student myself, I do work full time, so I am trying to maintain a full time job while also being in school full time. So, extrinsic motives, motives that involve the pursuit of external rewards such as money or social approval. So, we all know as you're working, you're already going to be planning what you're wanting to do with your check, even if that's just paying a bill or getting you something nice. We're already planning what we're going to do with that check. So, intrinsic motives that involve the pursuit of internal goals such as meaningfulness, self satisfaction, and self actualization. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the second part of those motives. So, just going to talk about work ethic. Morally obligated to engage in productive labor to avoid idleness, self identity. We may view ourselves as having careers or occupations, not as just holding jobs. And that's very important when identifying what you want to do with your career in your life because you don't want to just hold down a job. You want to do something that you're passionate about, something that you like doing. So, self fulfillment, we often express our personal needs, interests, and values through our work. Social roles, work roles help define our functions in the community. So, with those work roles, that just helps us define, our role at the job and, like the slide says, in the community because you're going to take those certain factors from your job and you're going to apply those certain characteristics throughout your community as well. All right, so diving into stages for career development, there are multiple stages of development in a career. The text highlights Donald Super's theory of development. Super's theory ultimately explains the cognitive reasoning of deciding your career path. All right, so the first career path will be the fantasy stage. This is from birth to 11 years old. This stage is where children of dreams dream of glamorous careers, such as a superstar, doctor, lawyer. When we're young, we're not really understanding the time frame and the work ethic that you have to put into being in those type of careers. So in this stage, children often have no cognitive awareness of being able to fulfill needs based on their dream job. The requirements of a job rarely is a thought that is considered when fantasizing. All right, so now we're going to talk about the tentative choice stage. That's 11 to 17 years old. This stage is where some realism is introduced. Children who go through this stage are still motivated by the glitz and glamour of their dream job. However, they do start to consider their own interests and limitations. And about around that 17, you're either a junior or preparing to be a senior in high school. So you're preparing yourself to go to the next level of education, and you're preparing yourself to learn about what you're wanting to do with your life and your career. All right, so we're going to talk about the realistic stage. All right, so the realistic stage, this stage lasts from 17 and beyond, where self awareness and realistic values come into play. So around this time, you'll be going into your college career. You're learning more about what you're wanting to do with your career and your job. So students begin to evaluate job expectations, rewards, and their future life. Most students begin to take the necessary steps to align their education with their career path.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalia Parker, and I'll be starting at. We're still talking about the career development slides, so I'll go ahead with the maintenance stage. The maintenance stage is the stage where most people have reached when they're the age of 30. You see the potential in growth or the stagnation in your career. You begin to realize that you either do or don't want to have that career that you've chosen. And then the career change, there will be plenty of people who will go through the stage at least once in a lifetime. Um, this is where we're tired of our job and we go back to school for more training or maybe training in a different direction. But so nowadays, it's pretty common, so it's not really a surprise or a frowned upon anymore. Um, the retirement stage, the legal age of retirement. So 65 years old or older, you transition from workforce to the more laid back lifestyle, and you're more open to exploring new outcomes of life, but different settings, which, that's more of like grandparents and older people, they tend to travel and things like that. Now, getting a job, when applying, you usually send a resume with a cover letter. A resume is a summary of your background that's used to convince a hiring manager that you are a good fit for the position that you're applying for. Your resume is your first impression. So it's very important to give it the same energy that you would your wardrobe, etiquette, or grooming. The resume is meant to be neat, serious, and show that you're right for the job. Don't use the same resume for all positions. Now, the second part of getting a job, when preparing for a new position, be honest. You don't want to lie on your resume, and use the job description to highlight things that you may be good at. Make sure the formatting is correct. Start with a heading with your name, address, and telephone number, statement of your job objective, your summary of your educational background, whether that be a degree, school name, year graduated, things like that. Summary of your work experience, so previous employers, dates of employment, and title of the position that you had, and then a list of references. But you don't have to use those. You don't have to use those unless they are requested. So, how to win an interview or wow the interviewer? Um, you want to write. Sorry, the interview is like um, your first, well, your second impression after your resume. So it's very, very important that you do your best. So you need to dress well for the interview. Look your best. Don't put on strong perfumes or cologne. Maintain eye contact. Be alert, cooperative, and friendly, but don't stare. and then prepare for the interview. Write down questions, rehearse the answers that you might have, and things of that sort. Now, the fastest growing occupations, um, we have things like home health aides, physician assistants, software developers, medical assistants, occupational therapy assistants, physical therapists, and forest fire inspectors. And in today's time, the leading occupations are renewable energy, healthcare, computers and computer science, and then independent practice, and then job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is more than just enjoying your job. Um, 91% of workers in the US reported being satisfied with their job, um, satisfied with things including pay, health insurance, retirement benefits, etc. And positive feelings towards the workforce can influence personal well being.
Hello, my name is Tamaria Connor, and I'm going to be presenting the last portion of this presentation. So, some common complaints when looking at job satisfaction include low pay, high stress, lack of recognition, lack of employee advocacy, and poor retirement or health care plans. Job satisfaction should always matter to employers because it affects both the workers and the businesses. Employers should make repetitive tasks in the workforce meaningful. So if there's a quota that needs to be met or something like that, then employers should always work to try to make those repetitive tasks mean something to the employees. That way, the productivity is not hindered throughout the day or throughout the duration of the business periods. Um, Workers who report being unsatisfied in the workplace often leave room for absenteeism, which in turn can affect productivity. So, a lot of times when workers are unsatisfied, today's age is common for job hopping as we would know it. So, a person does not feel obligated to stay at a job, so therefore we will quit a job and go get another job. So there's that always that room for absenteeism in a workplace if they feel unsatisfied. Performance appraisal is often received as a reward and can prolong feelings of acceptance or power. When a worker feels powerless, they often quit or they're often unsatisfied with their job simply because no one likes to be doing a hard workload or doing a lot for a job and going unseen, unheard, and feel like they have no say so in what the atmosphere of the business or the workforce really means to them. Constructive criticism versus destructive criticism. So as an employer, you should always know what to say and what not to say. There should always be some kind of training as far as wording goes when confronting or, just making aware any concerns with the employee or anybody that is like hindering the productivity of the business. So here we have 5 ways that you could, you know, better the way that you confront somebody about a problem or come to somebody about something that is really needing attention. First, we have specific versus vague. Second, we have supportive versus condemnatory. Um, Third, we have helpful versus threatening. Fourth, we have timely versus untimely. Fifth, we have optimistic versus pessimistic. We all know what that means. So, specific and vague, employers should always try to be as specific as possible when it comes to confronting a problem or a specific concern that they have. Supportive versus condemnatory. Um, Criticism should be always given in a way that is supportive and drives the employees to do better and want to do better. Helpful versus threatening. We all know that an employer should not be threatening you in a professional setting whatsoever. Timely versus untimely. Um, Employers, or even this even goes for employees, if there's a concern or something, it should always be confronted in a timely manner versus letting something build up, which could cause a bigger problem in the end. And optimistic versus pessimistic, just try to make everything as positive as possible, because positive feelings can affect how you feel about your workplace. So now we're shifting into why do women work? To earn money, obviously, to support their families, for personal satisfaction. Um, Women often do double shifts, working. Many are working still to do most of the chores at home. And let's go to the next one. Working mothers usually stay at home with the sick children facing job eruptions. 29% of moms stay at home, mostly due to child care costs. Um, we all know daycare. Well, I personally wouldn't know, but a lot of people with children do know that daycare is very high, and a lot of people can't afford it nowadays. Everything's going up, so a lot of mothers do stay at home and still try to work a job to make money, but often have to result in staying at home because of that. Um, Moms are the main or only income earner in 40% of families. So there are a lot of single parented households, and moms are the ones that are carrying the workload and the ones who are making it happen, unfortunately to say. But you just gotta do what you gotta do. Women with higher education, so 77% of women earn PhDs in clinical psychology, 49% earn degrees in law, 47% earn degrees in business or medical in the medical field. Why are women still underrepresented in STEM fields? Um, Women face a lot of sexism and discrimination in those fields. They often feel, well, society often feels that a man is supposed to dominate in that kind of field as far as hands on and things like that. So it's very hard for women, especially when you are accredited for the things that you do and the things that you quote unquote bring into the table. It's still hard. So next, we have cultural and workplace barriers remain. We all know that there is an earning gap between men and women, and race as far as earning gaps as well. So there's that. And then surveys show that both men and women see bias in the STEM fields. So lastly, we have our views changing. Today, less than 1 in 3 people think that women should stay at home. Two, 60% of women with kids under 18 are now working outside the home. Three, some jobs still view as feminine. Some jobs still viewed as feminine and are still mostly done by women. Some other jobs are viewed as masculine and still done by men. And four, why is that? It's just tradition and prejudice and personal choice. And that's the end.